Welcome, Matt. Great to have you as part of our event expert series. The Barista has recently become a FFAIR recommended supplier earlier this year, and I just knew that I had to get you to join us on a discussion to chat everything about coffee and events. Could you give us a bit of background on how you got into the events industry and your business?
Yeah, 100%. So the Barista is a coffee service provider. So we provide primarily into the exhibitions and events world in the UK and across Europe as well. It's a company, I'll be honest with you, we started straight out of uni. Sam and my business partner, Sam and I managed to get, we're very fortunate. We got a placement here in Sydney. So I ran 12 cafes. I was part of running 12 cafes in central Sydney, and Sam worked for a sort of sister company, but with a real heavy events, more private events, but there was sort of elements of corporate events in there. We sort of pulled the two together, and I'll be honest with you, the domain name was bought. The Barista.co.uk was bought in Sydney in 2009. So yeah, and then from that point on, it's something we finished uni and we got on with, all right, from this point, let's go forward. We're doing this or what? And, you sort of uni out of the way, let's get on with it, I guess. And from there, it's sort of every year, it's sort of growing year on year. Let's exclude COVID out there. But yeah, year on year, we've got bigger and better and pushed on and done more. And yeah, it's heading in the right direction, which is really great. And it's beautiful to see it grow and to see the people that we've got people that work here still from, first employees still here, and know what I mean, and he's sort of really grew into the role a lot more now as well, and has a lot more to deal with and stuff. So yeah, it's been a fantastic journey so far, and onwards.
It's amazing actually, because I remember the first time I had a proper coffee. I worked at Reed Exhibitions, and opposite it was my first sort of posh coffee shop at the time, like artisan coffee shop, and they were Australian. So yeah. I think it's a big culture.
There is some on there. Everyone sort of said, "Oh, the Aussie coffee generally." I think generally is like, as in you can get good coffee in more places. I think it would be the way I'd sort of put it. There's some amazing cafes in London and all around really, but you have to pick them out a little bit more. And I think you can be a bit less picky when you're in Oz. It's just generally a little bit better across the board.
Nice.
But yeah.
Nice. Well, I'll have to add it, going back to Australia to my list. But I think one of the things that I wanted to chat to you about is that coffee seems such a simple thing, and I'm sure that for many event professionals, it's like, is there a coffee station tick? But it's actually quite a huge deal at events. Especially trade shows, why is there such an obsession with coffee at trade shows? And is it really a critical part of the attendee experience?
I think from our side of it, I think the events themselves, I think we can all sort of, from stepping back, they're long, they're pressure cookers, and they are travels included. There's weeks of preparation in advance of it, and I think generally speaking, it's they are take long days for example. Now they are long. You know what I mean? It's you're in there at sort of 7, 7:15. You're not really leaving until sort of 6, and on your feet all day. I think that's always going to lend itself towards people going, I just need a breather. And I think coffee is one part of it, and the needing a coffee. But I think the second part of it is just having that few seconds of a minute or so just to yourself, I guess, really. Sort of get over that mid-afternoon slump, and you've been in there for a little while, and let's keep ourselves sort of topped up a little bit. I think as well, it's I say the sort of traveling, and I think for me the sort of pressure cooker of it all. It's we're working with people, people that work within the marketing department or the events department or wherever it may be. They've been on this case for a long time. You know what I mean? This has been weeks and months of preparation. And for those people in particular, you just sort of feel like, once the first morning gets going, I think that's where the coffee comes into it. It's like, phew, I can take a real big deep breath. Everything looks great. Stand looks great. I just need something to have a coffee. And I think as well, for those people in attendance, I think it's a big part of it. And I think, it sort of settles themselves. They come into this world of events, which is completely unique every time you go. You might go to event 2 years on the bounce, but second year will be 100% different to the first year. I think people really want a coffee and to get in, to have a few minutes to themselves and really sort of steady themselves before they go and investigate and take on the adventure of whatever they're going to do that day. So I think from the point of view of an organizer, it's something, it's one of the key pieces of feedback that they get. And I think it's something that can be really frustrating when such a relatively small fix can be used to really improve the feedback score, really take it from feedback that could be absolutely glowing, that should be absolutely glowing, and instead they're getting good feedback, and it's a really quick, easy fix, I think, in there. And you know, when there's so many things that come into an event, you know, talking about sort of AV speakers, the sort of gala dinners, the preparation, the apps, and all this that go into it, I think reality is it's probably quite easy to overlook coffee and hot drinks and stuff, but reality, it does play its part in quite a way. So yeah, it is an obsession. It gets us all there, and even day-to-day life, it's a bit of an obsession. I think it's you know, we all need it, and I think it's not forgetting that as well.
Yeah, I think you're right. You're so right. When you walk, you know, some of those big trade shows, you know, they've got stands right up at the front door. It's quite overwhelming sometimes. You've got your double-decker big brands at the front, and you sort of like, you've just arrived, just got off the Elizabeth line if you're at Excel, and you walk in and you're like, okay, an hour and a half ago, I was, you know, battling with my toddler over breakfast, and now I'm here. It's kind of like getting you in that mindset, isn't it?
100%, yeah, it's just taking that. Actually, kind of, you know, not steadying the ship, is it? But it sort of is. It's sort of getting yourself comfortable with where I've just walked in. I've you know, scanned my pass, and I'm in the hall now. It's just steadying the ship there and going, right, let's have a couple of minutes to ourselves, get a coffee, and we know where we're at then, and we can go on. We can start this journey, I guess. So, but yeah.
I have a question, and this is from my attendee hat on, because I've been to many, many, many events. And so my question is, why is it so hard to get a good coffee at a trade show? Because there's a lot of fun coffee, but why can't I get a good one?
I think you sort of mentioned it earlier. I think you mentioned about box ticking, I think. And I think from any angle, really, from an organized point of view, you know, have we got coffee sorted? Yeah. Tick. You know what I mean? It's not, there's no necessarily a further thought there of, well, how do we make this a lot better? Do you know what I mean? Is it how do we sort of take this from ticking a box to something that's really great and that's going to have like a lasting impression? People are going to really take it on and enjoy it. I think that's what's maybe overlooked, and even venues, I think, to a point as well. You know, on a, you know, if they're going, yeah, coffee's done, we've done it, it's how we do it, and maybe there's a you know, something in that as well, that that's how we do it. You know, we just do filter and we sell that, and it's X amount of cup, and that's what it is. I think where we're starting to feel is what we're starting to feel now is that organisers and venues are starting to they have to sort of do something different, I guess, really. So I mean, from an organizer point of view, we're finding an awful lot more organisers, not necessarily the massive, you know, 10 halls at Excel, for example, or filling out halls at sort of big venues, but the smaller venues, they're really starting to realise that they can't sort of get away with it, and they need to bring people in. So we do an awful lot of smaller venues, a lot of them in London. They'll go, okay, we've got 60 to 100 people coming in for an AGM or something, and we want you to just, they sell us. We don't know they're doing it. We do know they're doing it, but they sell us to one of their clients, and they get an order, and they go, yeah, we've got another one for you, and we come down and we deliver that service for them. And where the benefit for them is that they don't have lots of kit, they don't have any sort of capital investment to put in, they're not having to maintain anything like that, and they know they're going to get the job done, and that's what we're sort of really finding now. And it's similar with organisers now. What organisers are doing, they're selling us like a platinum sponsorship. Generally, it's a term that we're hearing anyway. So it'll be the full sort of coffee service, you know, with sort of corporate brand on the front of the bar, the cups, the aprons, utensils, things like that. And what they're doing there is they're going out to their exhibitors and going, okay, well, we've got a package here, corporate sponsorship package. Who wants it? You know, and it's that's how they're, and what that does for the organizer, which is really great, is that it takes the cost away from them having to pay the hotel or the venue for coffee provision, and they're making a markup on obviously on what we do, which is fantastic, obviously, and what's being delivered is of far superior quality and enjoyment off the back of it. And that's what we're sort of finding now that is happening, I think. And how do we get over it, and how do we get more people involved? It's just knowledge, I think. It's just getting in touch with those venues and organisers and saying, look, this is what we can do. It's not, this thing exists. You know, I mean, we don't do anything, we're not stepping on any toes. Like, we want to be there for you when you need us. We're not sort of looking to take away from any coffee provision. We're, if you need a really high end service, and that's like I think that's where we come in for it. And that's what we're finding is happening more and more, and it's moving that way. We find a lot of events they really are starting to, people like you, I guess. The reason you've asked this question is because you're
I'm a coffee snob. I'm a coffee snob.
I'm glad you said it first. People are asking for it, and that's from me, it's music to my ears. But I think it's just getting the message across there to venues and organisers that it's possible. You don't have to go with that sort of flask of coffee that's sort of been there forever, and there's better available, I guess. So
do you think that coffee or lack of easy access to coffee impacts engagement and experience and networking?
Yeah, I think at larger events, I think the obvious thing here is if there's no sort of coffee or coffee provision at all within an exhibition hall or within a sort of social area within an event, then people will walk. I think we said before, it's people have coffee every day or hot drinks every day, and it's an important part of people's life. They're going to have it. You're not going to keep people away from it. I think one thing is really, if people go and if people leaving the hall and 2 or 3 people from a stand, you might be a smallish stand, you might have 6, 7 people on stand, and if 2 or 3 of them go off for coffee for 10, 15 minutes, then it just affects people coming on. Oh, is X here? Oh, actually he is, but he's gone off to grab a coffee. Do you know what I mean? It just really reduces that engagement ability. One thing we find a lot of, and the feedback from us we really do get, is that it's the salespeople. It's keeping the salespeople on the stand. It's not obviously attracting people from off stand onto the stand is a really important thing. But the other thing is actually keeping and to go back to those clients is keeping them in the hall so that they can do what they do. They can be networking. They can be engaging with people. But the other thing I think from feedback from corporates and from usually from corporates direct, because you generally get a bit more back and forth with them. They were on site. Is that it keeps the sales guys on site. And imagine you have a stand with, we do some massive events and there's 25, 30 staff on the stand at any one time. And if you're losing 10 of them at a, sort of continuing cycle, the 10 of them at a time to go and grab a coffee from outside, then that time to really make a difference is not there. And that time to engage with people and that time to, it's, I think as well, the other thing with coffee, you really, once someone comes onto the stand for a coffee, you've sort of got them, you've got them. It's it's going to take us a little bit of time. We make everything fresh to order, so it's going to take a little bit of time to sort of, just to get that order in. And it may be the case of, they come on and it's not something that's going to, they're not really a prospect or anything like that. And you know what? They've had a coffee and they've had 2 minutes of your time. And that's what it is. But the other thing is, from our side of it, it's like you're 2 minutes, I've got you. And it's the sales guys and salespeople there that can really work that and just, try and hook people in or just give them something if it's a product or whatever it might be. It doesn't need to be the case of, you're not trying to talk the big sell. It could just be getting products in people's hands. It's I think it's for us, we've always found it really important and heard that people find it really important that it attracts people to the stand, and which is incredible. That's the point, isn't it? Is the point of an exhibition to get people onto the stand. And the second bit of it is it keeps your guys on the stand as well. It can be. Yeah.
I was really, when you first told me that, I was like, yeah, of course, because you've got a stand, your own staff need refreshments, and they can be jumping on and jumping off. And the amount of times I've been, a partner might come along and say, oh, do you want to go for a coffee to our CEO? But actually, he needs to be on the stand as well. So actually it's quite nice to have, well, why don't you just have one here? We've got one here. I've never even really thought about that side of it before.
It's feedback we get, again, it's mainly from corporates because we, they're on the stand as well. It might be someone that's organising the event, for example. Generally get it from there that they feel like they've got more out of it, whether it be number of leads, whether it be just they feel like the event was much better because people are coming in, but then also people were pinned to site and pinned to stand, I guess, a bit more, which you haven't got to. And also, we don't often go for a coffee on our own, do we? You know what I mean? When you're at an exhibition centre, you don't. So you're taking someone with you, I think, and that's the other thing. It can really sort of take a dent into the staff on the stand. Whereas if you maintain them on there, I think you get that engagement does sort of does increase and rightly so.
What sort of investment, if I'm a corporate and I'm looking, or an exhibit manager, what sort of investment am I looking at when I want to have a coffee vendor on my stand?
In terms, I mean, we try and make life as easy as humanly possible. So for us, we need power and we need space. You know, the cost for our service varies on where it is in the UK, and it's obviously the duration. But we've always been a company that's tried to make everything as easy as possible. We literally need, so we'll provide, when we get inquiry come through, like a tech guide that if they're going to build a stand for us, fantastic. Failing that, we have our own bar units that are free of charge and are brandable. So it's, in terms of an outlay, we really do fit into an awful lot of events. So you can be a case of it's a morning coffee service or a one-day service in our foyer, a corporate office or wherever it might be. There's no real sort of heavy investment needed before that. As long as we're near 2 plug sockets and the floor's flat, we're okay. You know, it really doesn't take an awful lot. And it's been a big part of us developing what we've done. You know, all our flight cases fit between single doors, and generally things stick into, other bar units that fit into, the maids that they fit into small lifts and the rest of it. It's just, we've always been trying to make it as easy as humanly possible for that, so that actually, further than the cost of what we do, there's not an awful lot that in addition we need, other than, like I said, the space and the power. So it's how we've always been. I think we've always had to make it as easy as possible for people. To be able to incorporate us into the stand, and if the budget isn't there for this sort of big build, then that doesn't sort of exclude them out, because we've got our own that we can use, and it fits in and looks great as well. So.
I mean, I've seen coffee, barista services on some, quite compact stands. It's not always on your, massive
space only is the huge middle stands. No, absolutely not. It can do its thing for smaller stands, and I say we try and make it as nice and compact as we can with that, which does help. But yeah, it doesn't need to be the big stands, and a lot of the small ones, they sort of see it as an opportunity, I think, really, in that, okay, our stand space is X and this is where we're going to be, but let's try and make the most of it. Let's really try it hard, and let's see what we can get out of this one. And generally speaking, we'll always do, an average event for us, we sort of do between sort of 200 and 300 drinks on average, and that's a busy event, and not a busy event. You think, if a 3x3 stand for whatever, or you know what I mean, like a small stand, if they're getting similar numbers to that as well, then that's great.
That's insane.
Yeah. We have wild things, like you get some. I did one a while back, and it was for a really, really niche financing company, and it was, I mean, this was a couple of years back, just post-COVID. We're doing like 40 drinks a day, and that's what they wanted. They only had like 6 or 7 meetings a day, and it was a small, like, boxed off room, and that's how it is. But the other ones where, it's absolute madness, and it's just you have 2 staff, not 2 baristas on one machine, and they'll be doing sort of 700-800 drinks a day, and it's great. We do, one of the big clients we've got is Crufts, is Royal Canin at Crufts. Madness, you know what I mean? It's a really great atmosphere there, but the number of drinks we do is absolutely wild.
The noise levels must be insane with all the dogs.
Noise levels is there, the whistles going off. It's great, but you get the dogs come round, which is a nice touch. You've been to a lot of corporate events like you and I have. It's some things are a little bit more chilled and relaxed and refined, but all of a sudden you've got dogs coming around. It's a bit different, so it's a nice change. Yeah.
But if you've got, like, looking at those numbers, if you are a B2B tech platform like we are, and you're making 700 cups of coffee, and you qualify even 10% of those leads, that's 7, and you've got 2 to 3 minutes of coffee time, is a huge amount of time to really qualify that lead. You can get quite far down in that lead to really qualify that. So I think that sort of leads on to my next question, which is, how do you maximize that investment? How do you take those 700 coffees and make it and come away with something that's pretty special?
I think the main thing, and we have, the main thing for us is use it. It really bugs us when you're on a great stand and all this work has gone into it, and from the guys in the office have gone through all the details, and the event staff is set up and ready, and they've sort of done the day before and all this, and then you get there and you get going, and people just sat on laptops on sofas. It's like, come on. And like, you're serving people that have come on and they've just sort of not chanced it, but they've got free. nice free coffee, which is what it is. But it's the most bugging thing ever. It really is. You just want people to come and just use it. Just, I'm not saying like be a gatekeeper, but just get something back. I think that's the main thing. Really use its service, and we do get. We do have, and we talk. This comes up in a sort of pre-event stuff. We do have people that come in and get in touch with us and say, "I just want a queue all day. I just want I want a huge queue all day, and I want our guys to just be picking the queue." And that's fine. You know what I mean? That's absolutely great. And that it depends on the sort of industry and what that sort of company do. The other side of it is we get like the really nicey companies. Do you know what I mean? And what they'll do, they want to sit down with people and really take the time with it. And so I think it works in two ways. I think for us in terms of work, get most out of it, work the queue, but it's got to work for you. If you're a really high-end holiday company, maybe selling the dream honeymoon, the rest of it, then you're probably less bothered about numbers and more bothered about that engagement and that what our service can do, sort of sit people down and get them comfortable and start the process there. I think in terms of talking again maximizing investment, we developed some software called SmartServe, and what SmartServe does is all the sales guys have got iPads, and they'll order the coffee on the iPad. So there'll be the front screen is sort of all the coffees available, and you can sort of customize them. So you can put, semi-skimmed or sugar or decaf or whatever, things like that. And then from there, it'll ask you for a little bit of information. So it might, just like name, email address. And this is all sort of customizable. If you need a bit more than that, then fine. But then what afterwards, it's just, you sort of got them. You know what I mean? You've ordered the coffee. And what a lot of people do then is we'll put just a couple of multiple choice questions. It's like, while I've got you, can I just ask your opinion on this? And it might be something that's generally something that's relevant to the company, or just some quick sort of bites of information that they need. And I think it's just a way of getting something back in exchange for that coffee. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't have to be anything huge. It's just an opinion on something. What do you want to see from a company? Like a car company. What do you want to see from this car company? What do you want to see Ferrari do? We work for Ferrari. What do you want to see them do? It's a little bit of information snippets there, really, that are just in exchange for a coffee. It's getting information back that is relevant to you and that is important to your company.
I mean, it makes my marketing brain go crazy, because you could collect industry data that you could then PR afterwards. You can collect, and even like your sales outreach. How nice would it be if a salesperson contacted you and said, "How is that oat milk latte for you?"
100%, yeah, that's it.
Rather than being like, "Do you want my platform?" It's
just a softer touch, and it feels like it's not just a generic cold email follow up from an event. It's hello, great to meet you last week at X event. I hope you enjoyed your cappuccino, whatever it might be. And it's actually, there's something in that. There's another level there. It's not just a sort of generic copy paste email. There's something in that which adds something that's important to people.
And valuable data doesn't just have to be what their buying power is. I think this valuable data can be multifaceted. Organisers. I'll tell you what, I stood in a queue for a coffee on a stand the other day for 15 minutes. And I got chatting to the people in front of me and the chatting people. We had a little foursome group, all chatting. They were all the right buyers for this platform, and no one came over to us. And as an events professional, I was dying. It wasn't an event for event professional, but I was dying inside. I was like, why is no one qualifying us?
Yeah, absolutely. And even for us, I think for us as the Barista, and obviously I've worked events in the past. This is what I've done. I still do the odd one now, and the time comes, even I get wheeled out. And but for the event guys, it's like you want to get that buzz at the end of the day. You want people to be going, God, that was great, wasn't it? And you want that, and you want to stand there and feel like you're making a difference. You want to stand there and make coffee for people and feel like you're really making a difference. And sometimes you don't get that, and people like say are sat on laptops, which is what it is. And other times you get it, and you leave and you go, get in. That was great. That they've got a lot out of it, and from a company point of view, that's what we want. That's exactly what we want.
So following on from this discussion, then, what do you want people to take away from learning about coffee and events and the importance of coffee and events? What if they could only just listen to the next 20 seconds? What would you want them to learn?
I think it doesn't have to be the sort of preconception of coffee events isn't great. I think there's another alternative out there is probably what I would say. I think it's so good when you get people that users once and afterwards, that it's like it's a given. The year after that, and the year after that, and the year after that, it's sort of, they feel the impact that having something great on stand and having sort of good coffee and good customer service has on stand. And I think it's of any size. I don't think it's sort of something also that's exclusive to these massive events. If anything, it's, it can be for anyone. It doesn't have to be a massive event. It can be for 200 people. It can be for 20,000 people, whatever it might be. It's an option we've got there. And I think it's, probably the final thing would be to working with other people. We're not exclusive to anyone. We've always been very open in that we work with venues, and we want to work with venues, not against. You don't want to be, people getting upset that we're taking money away from anyone. Like, we want to work with you and add to what you do, and add to what you're sort of we're collectively delivering to people in attendance. Organisers similarly. It just opened up. I think that's it. I think from me, we're not exclusive to any one area within the industry. We work with anyone and generally for anyone, and we can fit in sort of uniquely within that. So
And where can people find you?
So it's a bit of a push for us. So LinkedIn is the big one for us. We've been really sort of pushing that recently. You'll find me on there. And then our website is thebarista.co.uk. Again, it's been going for
which you registered when you were in Australia.
Jesus. And then the final bits would be we like to sort of invest within our industry as well. We're avid, maybe not the right word. Big ESSA members. We really big advocates for it. We love it, and I think during COVID they were incredibly helpful. And even now we just sort of feel like they really do add an awful lot, similar to that AEV and AEO. Both we partner with them at their annual conferences and some of their big events as well. And it's really nice. You get that, I think with the ESSA one, we get that sort of nice end of year chill. You know what I mean? We've done it, guys. You know what I mean? That's and then the AEV ones and AEO guys. I think it's starting to get to a point now whereby we've done a few years of that now, and there's conversations happening, and it feels like the ball's rolling with those ones. And it's nice when you get people come in and go, "Oh, I've been flown in from Germany," and knowing that you guys are going to be there, and it's such good feedback to get. You can't get any better than that, can you? So,
absolutely. Lovely. Well, thank you so much. Really appreciate your time, Matt.
Pleasure. Enjoyed it. Thanks very much.